What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Professor Ken here. I'm going to do a quick Camtasia video for you about OBS Studio. I do these for my Pro Tools class, but I want to do a quick one here for TV4 to show you how we did it last week. First of all, we've been trying out different software. OBS Studio, which you can see on the screen, is what we used here. As you can see, you could run it on Windows, Mac, or Linux. It's free. There's also versions that are kind of souped up versions, which are versions that have I don't know, that just it's kind of like more like iMovie-ish. Hold on a second. There are versions that are souped up, such as this. There's a company called Streamlabs. They have their own version of OBS. It's literally OBS. It's just a little more user-friendly the way it looks, but underneath the hood it's the same thing. In class, though, we're using OBS because it's got more of the buttons that are more familiar to us, like transitions and whatnot. There's another piece of software that we might be using next semester. Depends, though, where the software goes, because they're sort of a new company. They're called TVU Networks. TVU Networks is a company that actually a lot of news stations are using. And what's cool about it is that you can download this app to your phone. It works on Android, it works on iPhone, and it turns your phone into a camera. But the way it uploads to basically the internet, it uses a different algorithm that actually makes for much better quality videos. I've seen it in action. It's true. It looks great. And then what happens is, and this software is free as well, but if you want to do the live switch, then you have to use a software called TVU Producer, made by the same company, and that's what costs the money. So if you want to be a camera person, you download it to your phone or your iPad. That's free. It's called TVU Anywhere. But if you want to actually do what I've been doing, and that is like bringing in all the camera feeds and doing a live cut, then you have to use this thing called TVU Producer, which costs a lot of money. That being said, the reason we haven't been using that is because we do have a copy of it. It's because it doesn't have any bells and whistles. It doesn't have an audio mixer. You can't fade. You can't do cool dissolves. All you can do is just literally just cut between shots. And the other reason we haven't used it is because since you have to use your phone as the camera, that means that we can't talk to each other through conference calls. So because the app doesn't let you use the camera and the telephone on your phone at the same time. So you would turn on your phone, you would film yourself, but there's no way you would know if you're live, or you wouldn't be able to even see who you're talking to because it doesn't allow you to run anything else on the phone except the camera app. So there are some updates that I just found out about that they're implementing that might fix some of that. But until those get tried and tested, we're going to be sticking with what we did last week, and that is OBS. So I just want to give you guys sort of an idea of what direction we're going. TVU Networks, if you want to check that out, it's literally great live streaming software, but it's very limited on basically the talent end of things. If you're talent, you can't see what's going on, you can't hear what's going on. OBS Studio, you are able to use, since you're able to use Zoom as your camera, you are able to see the other people you're acting with, and it's easier to communicate because we could still do conference calls. So that's why we're sticking with OBS Studio for now, or one of the reasons. Anyway, I also wanted to let you know that if you do want to download this and basically play with it yourself, you can actually go to our Google Drive page that I've posted on Canvas. It's the same one as before, where we upload all our stuff for our final productions. I've made a new I've made a new folder here, which you can all download now. It's called OBS Scenes and Sources Download. If you click on that, it has a zip file. It basically has a compressed file which you can download to your desktop and open up. And what it is it's all of the sources and graphics and what we call the profile that we used when we did the Channel 189 news last week. So if you want to download OBS, install on your computer, and then go to our shared Google Drive page for TV4 Spring 2020 Final Elements. Go to the folder that says OBS Scenes and Sources Download. Download this, and then what you'll see is, boom, a folder that looks like this. You've got the stingers, like you might remember seeing this. Oh, I got to open it up with this other program. You might remember seeing that, right? This is also the thing that Bert made. There's that. That was like a little transition that he made. These, let's see here. I wonder if this will actually play. This is an OBS specific video file. Oh yeah. That's like a little wipe, a little fire wipe. And then we also had this one. These are all what we call stingers. So instead of just cutting or dissolving between shots, we could throw this like cool little effect in there. It just makes things a little more action-packed. We've all seen them on the news or MTV shows or something when they cut from one shot to the other. Sometimes it's like, whoa, you know, that sort of a thing. They're called stingers. So that's in here. The lower thirds I made. Let's see here. Things like that. You can learn how to make these. All you have to do is type OBS create lower thirds, and there's tons of YouTube tutorials. You could basically do it in Adobe Premiere or Final Cut or Avid Media Composer, and there's tutorials online that show you how to do that. But I made some all right here that are compatible with OBS, as well as these little boxes. So actually, this is the one. So you remember when Stacy was talking to Daniel? So this is a box I made in Photoshop, and what you see here is a still of a graphic that Bert made for us. And then in Photoshop, I created two blank boxes, and this gray, this sort of like off-white color here, that's the transparent area. So you basically create a transparency layer in Photoshop, and then you put, and then that gets imported into OBS, and OBS sees that this part is invisible or transparent, and then you can just put whatever you want in there. Let's see if I can open up Photoshop real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. Sometimes when I'm recording these Camtasia videos, everything slows down. Oh, look at that little teddy bear. Teddy bear is going to come to life. Oh yeah, look, she's a mermaid. Wow. Wow. I never looked at that picture before. It's like the movie AI. Okay, so this is the graphic that Bert gave us, and I basically created two little boxes. There we go. Created two boxes right here, and they are transparent. So you could take any graphic, right? You could take any graphic. Let's see if I can open up something else. Let's see here. There we go. So this is what I imagine my graphic is going to be for this coronavirus segment. It's the hot topic on everyone's mind today. And then over here in the layers box, I click on this little guy, new layer. So I want the new layer to be transparent. So I'll just call this, I don't know, trans. There we go. And I'm going to make it underneath the background layer. I got to unlock it first. There we go. There we go. And now my vision is to have the newscaster in here. Like basically be talking like an old box within this graphic. You've seen this on CNN. Anytime anyone gets interviewed, there's a picture of them on the screen, but they're literally a box within a graphic. That's what we're doing here. And then you basically create a box with your little box tool, and then go to the eraser. Oop. And make sure you're erasing on the right layer. And all those little squares right there represent transparency. And then what you do is you literally go up to File, Save As. There we go. Come on, baby. There we go. And you want to save it as a PNG. The PNG format is a format that doesn't create a massive file. So like if it's a smaller file, it's easier for OBS to deal with, and it preserves the transparency layer. If you make it a JPEG or a TIFF or something else, it won't preserve the transparency layer. It'll flatten it, and then everything you did is all for naught. You have to make it a PNG. PNG preserves the transparency layer that we created. So make it a PNG, save it somewhere where you can remember. I'm going to put it in the OBS materials folder. You should always keep everything in one folder. It's just easier that way. Channel 89. I'll call this COVID 1 box. Medium file size, that's fine. Okay, so now let's get out of here. Okay. You can do it, Photoshop. Don't save. There we go. Okay, so now we open up OBS. It's going to give you a quick rundown of importing this graphic and then showing you what I did. Just a quick overview of everything here. Okay, so here, cool thing about OBS is it always opens up to what you're working on last. So the last thing we were working on was our Channel 189 news. What you see here are scenes and sources. So the scenes are every time we make a cut, we're cutting. So you always start in black. So I have a scene that's just black. What is the scene made up of? It's made up of a source. In this case, it's a source known as a color source. So if this wasn't here, let's just take it away. Okay. So I made a scene called black. And you do that literally just by hitting the little plus button here. You're adding a scene. I'm not going to do that now because it's already up here. And then you're like, okay, well, what's in that scene? Right now, there's nothing. A scene is made up of sources. You hit the plus thing, and then you've got all these different categories of sources. I want to make sure I have something to fade up to and to fade down from. In this case, it's black. So let's make a new color source. And I'll call this black color source. You can call it whatever you want, but probably nothing too wacky, because if you're working with other people, they won't like that. Okay, as you can see, by default, it chooses white. So I'm going to select color. And now I'm going to just... No, basic colors. There we go. Boom. Hit OK. There it is. So now I've got something that I could fade up to. Black color source is the source for the scene that we call black. Intro news. The intro news is the video that Bert made us. So when news started, we started off with a little Channel 189 news, this cool little video that Bert made. Just like any sort of news broadcast begins with like a video, that's what Bert made here. So I made a scene. I went down here, the plus. I added a scene called Intro News. You know what? I'll just do it again just so you can see. Intro News. And I'll put this for class because I'm just showing this for you, or for demo, because I'm just showing this for you for this video because it's already done. Oop. Okay. So as you can see, this scene doesn't have any sources. Well, there is a source on my computer, the source that Bert made. So click on this, and this source that he made was a QuickTime movie. So it is a media source. You click on media source, and then I'll put Channel 189 intro. Yeah, I'll just put that. Okay, now this window pops up. So it's saying, okay, what's the source? Just this blank window here. So local file. Local file means, is it on your computer? It could be something that's like not on your computer. It could be a link to a QuickTime movie that's on the web. That's a whole other thing that we could talk about later. It's probably going to be doing with the TikTok videos, but it's easier just for everybody if it's a local file on your computer. Because if you think about it, if it was something I was pulling from the internet, then when we're streaming, my computer is going at the internet, grabbing the file, downloading it, bringing it into this program, and then uploading it again back to the internet. So it's going out to the internet, downloading it, and uploading it for the stream. That's a lot of stuff for this to do at once, and that's what contributes to the lag and the stuttering you see. If you can keep your sources down, A, to a minimum, and B, the simplest sort of way it could interact with the program, in this case, it's just coming off of my hard drive, that is key. So local file if you can help it. We don't want it to loop, and we want it to start when it becomes active. I'll show you what I mean. So first we'll find it. Camtasia is making things slow, taking it slow. Wow, that took a while. Okay, so let's see here. OBS materials, it should be in here. OBS materials channel 189. Again, I keep everything in one folder. And then, okay, here are the two movies Bert made. One was for the news and one was for the entertainment section. So let's do the news one, because this is the intro. Open. Open Sesame. There it is. Okay. So now the intro news scene is the Channel 189 intro media source that I brought in from my hard drive. And you could put these scenes anywhere, but you can actually move them wherever you want. I like to put them in the order that they're going to be in the program. That helps me as the director and technical director know what order things go in. So what you're doing is you're literally building your shots. Okay, so now we start in black. So the way this works is, I'm just going to make the screen a little bigger so it's easy for you to see. There we go. Oh, come on. Since it's free software, sometimes it makes weird little hiccups like that. So basically whatever you click here in scenes is what shows up in the preview. For example, that transparency that I was making in Photoshop, boom. This was the old one right here. So what you're seeing here is something that needs to get adjusted, which I'll show you in just a little bit. But whatever's in here, it goes in preview, and then when I'm ready for it to go to program, and by program I mean to broadcast or to stream, I click here on cut, boom, and now it's out there for the world to see. If I want to get rid of it, then whatever's in preview will go to program once I hit cut. Now, what's cool is there's other transitions here. I can hit a fade, and it does a dissolve. I've also loaded some stingers on here. So we go like this. Like that. Pretty cool, huh? Or the fire stinger. Yeah, the fire stinger is your processor and RAM have to be pretty top notch for that to work really well. So you want to stick with the stingers that are a little easier to use, like this. That sort of thing. Okay, so then let's go back to what we were doing before. So we start in black. We hit cut just to make sure it's all good. Turn on black. And now we know our first thing is intro news for demo. So that's in here, but it starts in black. So of course you don't see anything. So hit cut and watch what happens. It's stuttering right now because I'm recording this. It's Camtasia and OBS don't like each other that much. So one thing you might notice is that it seems like everything's cut off. This is a good reason. This is why I'm showing you this. Let's get out of this for a second. Okay. So this video file that Bert made was 1920 by 1080 pixels, which is HD. What we found in OBS is if you want a smoother broadcast, you actually need to, then it depends on internet connection, processor speed, all that stuff. You need to go into your preferences and tell it to stream at a smaller resolution. If you try to do something big like 1920 by 1080 or 4K or something, that's asking your computer to do a lot of processing and a lot for the internet to accommodate for you, little laptop that's in a bedroom somewhere, which is where I am. So work with what you got. So, for example, output. Video. There it is, video. I like to keep everything at 1280 by 720. You can choose any of these. If your internet connection and your processor are very slow, you can even bring it down to good old-fashioned SD or standard def, which is what television used to be. And you know what? It's going to look fine. People are used to watching YouTube videos this big on their screen. It'll be fine. But if your computer is fast enough, you could keep it up at 1280 by 720 or even higher than that. But I wouldn't suggest it unless you've got a computer that is made within the last couple of years. You can also do your frame rate right here. Normally our frame rate is 29.97. To help again with the lag, and the more sources you add, the more it taxes your system. It's kind of like having a lot of windows open. Your computer's running slow, and then you'll see you've got 20 windows open and 5 applications open that are all running something at the same time. Your computer's going to slow down. OBS is the same way. If you've got multiple sources, multiple videos, multiple graphics all in this thing, it's processing all this constantly. So you need to tell it, okay, I'm not going to push you too hard. So what do? I put my frame rate down to 20 frames a second. It's smooth enough, and because I'd rather have a smooth 20 frame per second broadcast that's kind of like this than something that is stuttering like this, because I'm trying to do 30 frames per second at 1920 by 1080. So make your resolution a little smaller, make your frames per second a little smaller. You should be all right. I'm also going to post a list of tips as well, because that's easier to read than just me describe, because it'll take me a half hour to describe it all. Anyway, so that's why this looks so big on the screen. So check this out. See, there it is right there, but you see this red box right here? Watch. I just made it smaller. So this little preview window is also your edit window. So I'm previewing it right now, and I just made it the right size, which is great, because before it was too big. Depending on the graphics and videos people send you, your resolution that you've set for this, which we just saw, is 1280 pixels wide by 720 pixels tall. But maybe you'll get a graphic that's bigger, maybe you'll get a graphic that's smaller. And then you'll have to increase it. For example, this one is already good to go, but it's possible I could have created something that was this big. So all I got to do is pop it in. See, it's selected. So whatever I select here is up here. And whoop, there it is. Speaking of which, here's that 2-box I created earlier in Photoshop. This is it right here. Look, these are those transparent elements. So you see, this is how it works. This 2-box scene is comprised of these different sources. The 2-box graphic that I just made in Photoshop, and this is what's on top. This basically is on top. Think of like layers of, I don't know, you've got your comforter, then you've got your sheet, and then you've got your fitted sheet, and then you've got your mattress. So what's on top here? The comforter, which in this case is the News 2-box. What's underneath that? Camera Daniel. And what's underneath that? Camera Stacy. And you see when you click on them, you see what you're highlighting. So what I did here, Camera Daniel is what we call a display capture. I've got 2 monitors here. One monitor is the one you're seeing, and the other monitor is the monitor where I can have my zoom set up. So I'll see all of your pictures on the second monitor that you can't see right now. And then what will happen is I can go into display capture, call it zoom camera. In this case, I called it Camera Stacy. But again, this will be a demo. And by default, it says, oh, you want to capture this display, which is the display you're looking at right now. I'm like, no, I want to capture my other display. This is what my other monitor looks like. This is the monitor that is basically my Camtasia monitor. This is letting me know I'm recording this right now. So here's this. I don't want to show the cursor because when we're doing a live broadcast, I'm doing a lot of adjusting over here, and I don't want to see that. So I uncheck Show Cursor. And then in crop, yes, I will be cropping it manually. And you hit OK. And so now, as we see, it automatically puts that on top. See? I can't see my graphic anymore because it's layered on top. So let's put it down here. Boop. Great. And now I'm going to make it, and you can make things visible and invisible by clicking these little eyeball icons. See that? Okay. So I'm going to make these other two sources invisible. Okay. So remember, this is what the other monitor looks like, and it's too big. So I need to make it smaller. And I want this camera right here of me talking to fit in this window right here. So this is the tough part. You got to make sure that you are affecting the right graphics. So what you do is you highlight the source that you want to move around or make bigger or smaller, and then go up to the window and click on it. So it's a little small. So we'll make it a little bigger. And we don't want to see all this other stuff, right? We just want to see this bit. Make it bigger. Awesome. And then I can add another source. Let's say Daniel. Okay, here's Daniel. He's already in here. So what's this source look like? Make him visible. Okay, there he is. Now, again, imagine Zoom. In Zoom, this right here, this is my camera. And then maybe Daniel's is on the other side of the screen. So what I would do is I would go, remember, I would create another display capture. And I would choose camera Daniel demo. Remember, we want the other display. And now I'll just basically choose, and remember, I don't want to show the cursor, and I want to crop it manually. So I basically go here, and let's say, and this is the same screen, but I'm going to crop it down to the part of the screen that I want to fit in the other box. So you might say, oh, wow, how do you crop? Let me show you. See, right now it's huge, right? It's huge. Go up to basically these boxes. First of all, let's make it smaller so it's easier to deal with. Okay, even smaller. There we go. Okay. So any of these red boxes or red squares right here, if you put your mouse over it, hit Option, click and hold, watch. It crops it. So let's say I want Daniel to be this little clock right here that's moving. I'm hitting Option and dragging on the little squares. Okay. And now I know I want him to be in this window here. So put it over this window. Make it bigger. It's square. So maybe I'll have to make it even bigger and adjust it a little bit. Now what's wrong here? His layer is on top. So all we got to do is drag it beneath the 2-box graphic and boom. And so now Daniel is this thing on the left. Stacy is this thing on the right. And it's underneath the 2-box graphic. All these other things are are sources that I had in here before. I'm just creating new ones for you to see for demonstration purposes. And so this is ready to go. So now I could start in black, go to the intro news with the stinger. And then I'll tell Stacy and Daniel to get ready. We're going to cut to you in 5 seconds. And then I'm going to cut to them with a stinger. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And there they are. And now they start talking. And this is basically how you create scenes. Remember, each scene is a shot. And sources, the elements that make up that particular shot. And then later on, Hunter delivered his entertainment report, and then we cut to that video.
Fast 9 now will not be released in movie theaters, and
this
instead
is a lower
the movie
third
will
that
drop
I
to what's called
created,
PVOD providers.
See,
that stands for Premium Video on Demand. In simple English,
lower
that
third,
means
Craig,
you'll be paying to
that's
watch
a media
at home
source
using
that
whichever
created in
streaming
Premiere.
service
That's
pays
something
for
I'll let
it.
you guys Google how
That
to do
means
that.
Netflix,
This is the
Hulu,
news
or
one box
whatever, and
graphic,
I'm sure the
and
movie
then
will be
this is the
$19.99
QuickTime
to
video
rent
that
or
I put in
$24.99
that
to
graphic.
buy,
See?
depending on what demand provider you use.
Let's look at it again. Actually, a lot of times it's hard to. Let's see. Sometimes you have to cut to something else if you want to just replay it again.
Fast 9 now will not be released in movie theaters, and instead the movie will drop to what's called PVOD providers. That stands for Premium Video on Demand.
The video,
in simple English,
I could take it away.
that means
but if I
Fast
take it away,
9 now will not be released in movie theaters,
everything.
and instead
So
the movie will drop to what's called PVOD
that being
providers.
Said, you'll
that
see,
stands for
me,
Premium Video on Demand.
Let me,
in simple English, that means you'll be paying to watch at home using whichever.
Last thing I'll show you here is the audio mixer. So every time something pops up here, you'll see the audio mixer. So this right here, it says mic aux. This is the default audio channel for display capture. So when you guys are talking in Zoom, Zoom is coming out of the display and into OBS. OBS sees the audio coming out of the display and into OBS, and it's known as an auxiliary channel. And OBS just calls it microphone/auxiliary. So every time you guys speak in Zoom, this meter is going blah, blah, blah. So when I say, hey, everyone needs to be quiet except for the people who are talking, that's because since I'm getting a display capture, I'm getting all the Zoom display, but I'm only seeing part of it through the cropping that I did in OBS. I'm still hearing all of you if you're talking. So that's what this controls right here, the feed from Zoom. If you import a piece of media with audio, such as this entertainment video right here, watch.
Fast 9 now will not be released in movie theaters, and instead the movie will drop to what's called PVOD providers.
I can bring it up.
Premium Video on Demand. In simple English,
I can bring it back
at
up.
home using whichever streaming service pays for it.
Shows you
that means Netflix, Hulu, or whatever, and I'm sure the movie will be $19.99 to rent or $24.99 to buy, depending on what demand provider you use.
Audio bed underneath your whole project if you want. Again, that's something that you guys can explore for yourself. Anyway, this is the basic setup I had this last week. You can download it from the Google Drive page and add sources, subtract sources, change different sources on the scenes if you want, and just play around with it. It's not an assignment, just, want to give you guys the gist of what we did before and give you the tools, give you a sort of overview of how it worked last week in case you want to do this yourself. Okay, signing off now. I got to make a video for Pro Tools. So see you Tuesday.